Today I want to share my thoughts about the TTArtisan 50mm f1.2 for micro four thirds camera, a budget-friendly micro four thirds lens with medium telephoto focal length and large aperture of f1.2. This lens actually solves one important issue with micro four thirds, and that is the ability to create background blur or bokeh. Bokeh with small sensor isn't easy, and this lens really helps to achieve that dreamy full frame look in micro four thirds with that f1.2 aperture. But with its budget-friendly price tag, is it too good to be true? How does it perform, and how is the picture-taking experience with this lens? Find out more in today's video. Quick disclaimer, TTArtisan actually sent me this 50mm lens for a review for free. However, they don't pay me to say anything in this video, so I will try to remain as objective as I can. Anyway, let's start by talking about the basic specification of this lens. 50mm focal length, so that's quite a medium telephoto focal length in micro four thirds. That's about 100mm in full frame terms, and then it has a large aperture of f1.2. We will discuss what does it mean later on this video. And then also, this is a manual focus only lens, there's no autofocus. And speaking about focus, the minimum focusing distance is about 50 centimeters. If you are using filters frequently, then you should know that this lens has a filter thread of 52mm. That's for your circular polarizer and your ND filters and other filters. Anyway, let's talk about the build quality of the TTArtisan 50mm f1.2. And right away, I'm very happy to report that this lens feels very solid and hefty and rugged. It just feels so nice on the hand, feels very premium. It doesn't feel like a cheap budget lens. I'm so happy to report about that. And anyway, this lens is a little bit heavier compared to your standard lenses. It's because of the large f1.2 aperture. It's very understandable, but that makes this lens feels very solid on your hand, and I think that is a good thing. So we have some rings right here. First is the manual focus ring. It feels very smooth, but also it has enough friction that makes it feels very tactile, and it's just so nice when you turn the manual focus ring. You should know that when you're turning the manual focus ring, the lens barrel will move up and down a little bit. That's normal in my opinion, nothing to be worried about. And then also it has this aperture ring right here, and it has clicks. So if you're doing video, maybe that's not the most optimum kind of ring that you want clickless for video, but anyway, for photography it just feels so nice. The amount of friction is just correct in my opinion, and it just feels again very tactile, very nice to change settings, and it really adds into the fun experience of using this lens. Besides from the manual focusing ring and the aperture ring, there's no other switches or fancy buttons. It's just a straightforward manual focus lens. And speaking about manual focus lens, this also looks very vintage. It looks like a lens from the 60s, 70s that you use on your film camera. Just looks so cool in my opinion, and that really adds to the charm of this actual lens. And yeah, I just want to say that for the price, oh wow, the build quality of this lens is just perfect. Now let's talk about the usage of this lens, and right away, with the 50mm focal length of this guy, I think it is perfect for portrait, especially for like half body portrait, even for headshot and full body portrait. It just looks so nice, especially with the combination of the large f1.2 aperture. It's also great for distant landscape photography in my opinion. I'll try to take some distant landscape shots with this guy. I think it looks okay. And then also for distant street photography, I think it just looks nice. Don't worry, I will share some sample picture really soon, so please stay tuned on this video. However, this is not really a flexible focal length in my opinion, because again, this is a medium telephoto focal length. You cannot really use this for like regular a street photography lens or maybe for like regular wide angle landscape thing, it's just not going to do that. And I don't think this is the best choice for the only lens if you are traveling or if you're just out and about. This is too limiting in my opinion. However, if you're doing, again, portrait, distant landscape, distant street photography, maybe a little bit of product photography, I think this guy will do really well. Anyway, now let's talk about image quality, performance of the TTArtisan 50mm f1.2, and I will also share my sample images taken using this lens. This is my favorite part of this video because I get to share the pictures that I took with this lens to you guys so that you can see. I hope that the pictures can speak for themselves. But anyway, most of the pictures will be taken at f1.2 aperture, at the maximum aperture, because I want to address the elephant in the room. How do they look when they are shot at f1.2? And right away I want to say that the bokeh is oh my god, so amazing with this lens. F1.2 and 50mm is just it's perfect for making background blur for portraits. Is just dreamy and fantastic in my opinion. Some things that I want to notice: first, at maximum aperture at f1.2, there will be slightly less contrast and sharpness. That's perfectly normal for lenses like this. At largest aperture, you need to stop down a little bit to f2 to get the maximum sharpness and contrast. However, as you can see on the images, I'm totally fine with shooting at f1.2. I don't think the lack of contrast and the lack of sharpness is that critical for my kind of needs, especially for portraits. You don't really want that ultra sharp kind of look. You want a slightly dreamy, blurry, organic, smooth buttery kind of feel. And then also some things that I notice, especially when I'm out and about, when I'm on the field shooting with this lens. At the maximum aperture, the depth of field is very tiny. So any movement caused by you or by your subject will cause the focus to miss. Anyway, still speaking about background blur and bokeh, the aperture blades of this lens are not perfectly circular. So if you are shooting at large apertures, and even if you stop down, the bokeh balls will not look perfectly rounded. For me personally, that's not a big deal. I'm not really analytical into those kind of things, but for some people that might cause some issue. Flare resistant and ghosting on this lens I think is average. If you are shooting into a bright light source, you will not get streaks of light, things like that, but you will get a little bit of that purple ghosting thingy. Again, for this price, you cannot expect really that much out of this lens, but yeah, I think it's okay for me. I imagine if you are doing something critical like wedding photography or pre-wedding photography on location, when you are doing that backlight kind of effect, I think this could cause some issue, but for most people I think it's okay. One thing that I want to mention that might cause some problem for you is the minimum focusing distance. It's only 50 centimeter, and in my opinion that is not close enough. So it's very limiting for product photography. If you are doing tabletop photography and you wanna kind of like photograph small objects like a small electronics, for example a phone or maybe another camera or maybe another lens or an action figure, 50 centimeter, you cannot really feel the frame unless the object is really big. So yeah, for product photography, I don't think this lens is a good choice. However, I just want to remind you to set your expectations correctly for this lens, because again, this is an ultra budget option for micro four thirds. It doesn't cost you a lot, probably around 100 or 200 US dollars, not a whole lot of money. And with that kind of expectation, you just have to accept that this lens won't perform any kind of miracles and it won't get everything perfect. However, I personally think that for the price, it provides an excellent value for your money, and it's just such an enjoyable lens to use. Now I want to summarize my experience with the TTArtisan 50mm f1.2. What I like from this lens and what I don't like. from this lens. Let's start with the things that I love from the TTArtisan 50mm f1.2. First, the build quality. Again, excellent, solid feeling, very robust, very rugged. It just feels premium. It just looks so nice. It looks like a vintage lens. I just love it. It has its own charm. And then the budget-friendly price. Well, yes, for around 100 or almost 200 US dollars, you get something with a large f1.2 aperture. That's just amazing. This is like manufacturing miracle, I must say. It provides a lot of values for your money, and you cannot go wrong with this kind of lens. And then image quality. I think it is more than good enough. If you stop down, it is fantastically sharp. But you have to remember again that this is an ultra budget lens. You have to set your expectation correctly. And another thing, last but not least, that I love from this lens is that it is fun to use. It's just so enjoyable when I'm on the field trying to nail the manual focus, turning the aperture ring, trying to get the correct aperture, and just, experimenting and learning this lens. It's just so much fun, and I think that's very important characteristics to have in a lens. If a lens is not fun to use, then what's the point? Photography should be fun. I tell people many times on my other videos about this, how you should enjoy photography, and I think this lens can really help to make you enjoy photography better. What I don't like from the 50mm f1.2, only a couple of things, and I already mentioned them before. First, manual focus is not really easy with this lens because the combination of the focal length and the large aperture. Again, if you move a little bit or if your subject move a little bit, then the focus could miss. And yeah, it's not the fault of the lens. It's just physics, Long telephoto lens in combination with large aperture will create very thin depth of field. You have to be very careful and precise with your focusing. And then another thing that I don't really like from this lens is the minimum focusing distance. Only 15 centimeter. It's not close enough for product photography, as I mentioned. I would like to have it at least 30 centimeters so that I can fill the frame with my products, especially smaller products, so that this lens can function more than just for portrait, distant landscape, or distant street photography lens. Anyway, if you are looking for a budget medium telephoto lens for micro four thirds camera with large aperture to get that nice background blur, I can really recommend the TTArtisan 50mm f1.2. Such a fantastic lens for its price, and it's just so much fun to use. Hopefully this video has been informative, interesting, entertaining, and hopefully I'm able to explain all my experiences with this lens and help you to decide whether this is the right lens for you or not. Anyway, that's all for today's video. Now I want to learn more from you. What is your favorite medium telephoto lens that you usually use? Please share on the comment down below. Let's have a little bit of a discussion. And also, if you have any question, please comment down below as well. I will try my best to answer them. Also, don't forget to support my channel by liking this video, sharing this video, subscribing to my channel down below. And if you want to support my work even further, consider using the affiliate links on the description or use the super thanks button to make a small donation to my channel. Thank you, and I will see you on the next video. Goodbye.